Steelers 29, Lions 24. This has been a phenomenal episode, by the way, guys. If you're listening all the way through, I really appreciate it. We got 2 more games here to cover. I'm feeling great. This was a big game. You know, I think the Lions effectively get eliminated here from the playoffs. They still have a chance. You got to win out. You're also banking on teams losing. I don't like being in that position personally. Obviously, I love controlling my own destiny. But yeah, this was bad for the Lions. Steelers come out and, yeah, they get a big win. Mike Tomlin, the big 9. The big 9 wins, baby. Another winning season for Mike Tomlin. Hasn't had a losing season in his career. That's impressive. I'll say this. The Steelers' deception gets better every single year. Rodgers has unleashed the arm for this season. He's on fire with his guys. Jaylen Warren hit the ground running for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday. The defense is picking up 20.3 points allowed per game over their last 3 games. And guess what? Mike Tomlin gets another winning season. And all this for what? Another wild card knockout. The Steelers need to see a team like the Chargers for a win in the wild card. And I don't even think they get it, to be honest with you. I think this is another prime year the Steelers fall short in the playoffs. Honestly, I see nothing different. Like, they're playing a little bit better than they were at this point last year, but I don't trust it. No way. I have tried to trust the Steelers. I have tried to buy in. It's just not happening. It's not happening. I'll believe it when I see it, because Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in damn near a decade. You know who's an idiot too? Well, I had to talk about this on the show. DK Metcalf, suspended 2 games now. His guaranteed money is voided. Oh my God, we'll talk about the details of that right away. But first, just my thoughts on DK. I'm watching it. I'm watching the replay. I'm watching the highlights. The only thing that comes to mind, DK Metcalf is an idiot. He's an idiot. I don't care what the fans said. There are 60,000 fans at the stadium watching you. Thousands of cameras on DK Metcalf. And you decide to grab the fan's wig. You decide to grab the fan's wig and swing at him. Why on earth would you do that? What did you expect to happen? You're now suspended 2 games without pay. It hurts your team. It hurts the Steelers trying to compete for a playoff spot. And you've voided $45 million guaranteed in the future. Because a fan said something to hurt your feelings. I am by no means confirming or denying what the fan said. I am not siding with the fan. I don't believe DK would lash out for absolutely no reason. The fan is probably an asshole, and he should be removed from sports games, period. There is no place in sports for stuff like that, if the reports are true. But regardless, no matter what the fan said, you can't assault anyone. At any point, we don't hold you to a higher standard because you're an athlete. You're a role model wearing that jersey for a bunch of young kids who don't know any better, who are Steelers fans at heart, and they see that, and that is a bad representation of who you should be as a human. I'm not siding with DK for what the fan might have said or what he did say. I don't care about that. Because the fan is nobody. And you are DK Metcalf. Equally, person for person, you guys are the same. You both bleed red. You guys are both human beings. But understand the situation. Understand the situation and where you are, DK Metcalf. Understand you're on the field. You should be focused on the game. But instead, you're interacting with a fan who's heckling you. I bet you any money, a lot of fans have said a lot worse or equal to players on the field. And they haven't done that. You can't punch a guy. You can't swing at a guy. Now, it's true. If a guy said some crazy stuff like that to me, if a guy came at me and the reports are that he said something about his mom and called him a racial slur, that is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. You can't do that at all. And there's no place, not just in sports, but in the world for that kind of person. You're a loser if you do that. If you show up to the games, you do that. You're a freaking loser. You're the scum of the earth. And I would have a reaction too. I'm not sitting here and saying I'm perfect. But DK, please. You're now costing the Steelers an opportunity at the playoffs. You've now cost yourself a bunch of guaranteed money. And your image, your self-image, it's somewhat destroyed. That's not what a role model does. That's not what a guy who has worked his ass off, but is also privileged to wear that Pittsburgh Steelers helmet, that historic jersey. That's not what they do. You got to be better, man. You got to be better. I was very disappointed, to be honest with you. I just thought it was so dumb. So dumb watching it. Anyways, that's my rant on DK and the Steelers. The Lions. We've learned something this year. I knew this. A lot of people knew this. Dan Campbell needs two coordinators to succeed. This is not a criticism on Dan Campbell. He was hired to come into Detroit and change the culture. And that's exactly what he did. He got them their first playoff win in over 3 decades. This guy changed the franchise. He gave hope to the fan base. He is not so much an X's and O's guy as he is a motivator and a leader and someone who sets the standard. This is exactly what I was talking about in Miami. You look at the Dolphins, they are missing somebody like Dan Campbell. They would die for somebody like Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell came in and did his job for the Lions. But as a result, you need a guy like Ben Johnson to run the offense. Dan can do it, but it is limited. This is not a knock on Dan Campbell as a coach. He knows his role. He was brought in as a culture changer. He sets the standard. He is the role model you look up to. He will look you in the face when you're interviewing him post-game after a loss, and he will tell you we suck today. He won't make excuses. He's not going to chat about the refs, yada, yada, yada. He puts the blame on himself, and he says we will be better. And usually they are. He has brought so much life to Detroit. But again, he needs the support system. He needs the people around him to succeed, as a lot of coaches do. And I'm fine with that. Losing both coordinators to head coaching jobs isn't ideal for a lot of people. It helps when you call the offense, when you're an Andy Reid or a Sean Payton and you're the head coach. You get a little bit more consistency there. That's where Dan Campbell kind of falls short. But again, what did you bring him in for? Did you bring him in to call the plays or did you bring him in to set the culture? Now you got to get an OC and a DC. I mean, Shep has done good with what he's got. The defense has kind of been torn apart with injuries this year, but it's like, that's what you're getting out of Dan Campbell. I would say in this game, I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy about the refs and the officiating and this and that, and I hate blaming the refs, man. I do. I just think it's unbelievable. I just think it's a dumb excuse, especially when you're 8-7. It's like the refs haven't screwed you all year. Maybe there have been some bad calls that have gone the opposing team's way, but it's like, there were opportunities for you to win. And I think after that game, the last play was a little bit confusing. I didn't even get a clear explanation. I didn't know what happened. Was there a whistle blown? Was there not? I'm looking at it. I see all the Lions fans blaming the refs. Detroit blaming the refs. It's so weak. This team was going nowhere with all their injuries and Goff at the helm. Goff's got concrete feet. He doesn't move outside the pocket. He's a great quarterback, but he's limited. And all I've seen all year are losses against playoff teams. They are 1-5 in those games this year. The offensive line lost pieces before the season started. You lost both your coordinators before the year began. Your defense has been depleted with injuries. Your secondary, specifically. The defense is allowing 25 points per game, 33.3 points per game in their last 3 matchups. I'm sorry to break it to the fans, but their window has been slammed shut for now. They still have an immense amount of talent, but that will only take you so far. The momentum is not with them anymore. They now need to win out, and their playoff chances are really slim. And I don't know. I just don't see it happening. This just wasn't the year for Detroit. They had their opportunity. I've said this time and time again on the show. I'm not going to repeat myself. The window was closed this year. They can open it back up, but they need some coordinator help. Let's see if Goff can do it. Let's see if Goff's the future. He's still got a hell of an arm, but you got to protect the pocket. And when you lose pieces of the O-line, it's like, oh shit, we got a guy who thrives in the pocket, but if you can't protect him, uh-oh. That's what happens.